When we picture a natural disaster, our minds usually jump straight to the raw power of it all, right? Like the Richter scale number for an earthquake or how massive a tsunami wave is. But what if I told you the true scale of a catastrophe? Well, it isn't just about nature's fury. So let's get into it because this story is way more complex and honestly a lot more human than you might think. All right, just picture this for a second. On one side, you have City A. A mega quake hits. We're talking a truly massive tectonic event. But here's the crazy part. The number of casualties is surprisingly low. Then, on the other side of the planet, a major quake, but definitely not as powerful, hits City B. The result? Utter catastrophe. A tragically high death toll. I mean, it doesn't add up, does it? How can a weaker quake cause so much more devastation? So, why? What is going on here? Why would you see such a massive difference in the outcome? Honestly, that one question, that's the key. It's what helps us unlock the real nature of disaster risk. Okay, so the first big piece of the puzzle, our first master key, if you will, it all comes down to how a place is run. Yeah, we're talking about governance. So when we say governance, what are we actually talking about here? Well, think of it as the entire operating system for a country or a region. It's everything from the big national policies all the way down to the nitty-gritty local decisions. It's about the rules on the books, sure, but, and this is the important part, it's about how well those rules are actually put into practice to keep people safe. In this whole system, it really works on two different but equally critical levels. You've got the national level, that's the big picture strategy, and then you have the local level, which is all about what happens right there on the ground. You absolutely need both of them firing on all cylinders. So let's start at that national level. What does good governance look like? Well, it means the government is ponying up the cash for things like sophisticated early warning systems. It means they're constantly keeping an eye on potential hazards. But maybe the biggest one of all, strict enforced building codes. Just look at places like Japan and Chile. They've proven time and again that when you build things that actually withstand an earthquake, you save a massive number of lives when the ground inevitably starts to shake. It's a game changer. Okay, now let's bring it down to the local level, right into the community itself. This is where it gets personal. We're talking about smart planning, like not allowing someone to build a new housing development in a known flood zone. It's about things we can all participate in, like community education and regular evacuation drills, so everyone knows what to do. And it's about making damn sure that when the worst happens, the local fire department, police, and paramedics are all on the same page, with a coordinated plan ready to roll. All right, but governance, as important as it is only half the story. There's a second master key we need to talk about, and this one is all about the land itself. It's geography's hidden hand. And look, when we say geography, it's so much more than just a pin on a map. It's a whole collection of factors. For example, how many people are squeezed into one area? That's population density. How isolated is a town? How hard is it to get to? Is it a massive, sprawling city or a tiny village? And then there's the actual physical land. Are you on a flat coastline or tucked away in some rugged mountains? Every single one of these things completely changes the game when it comes to risk. Let's take isolation, for instance. I mean, you can really see the domino effect here. A disaster hits a remote town. First domino, roads get wiped out, phone lines go dead. Second domino, because transportation is cut off, life-saving aid, doctors, supplies, they can't get in. They're delayed for hours, maybe even days. And with every single hour that ticks by, the initial problem gets worse and worse. And that's how a manageable crisis spirals into an absolute catastrophe. Now, even something like urbanization is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, a really well-planned city with solid infrastructure can be incredibly resilient. But there's the other side of the coin. Think about rapid, informal growth, where huge populations flock to cities and settlements pop up almost overnight. This often forces people to live in really dangerous spots, on steep hillsides and floodplains, and often in buildings that are, frankly, not built to code. You end up with these pockets of extreme vulnerability, little ticking time bombs right in the middle of a bustling city. Okay, so we've got our two big ideas on the table, governance and geography. But here's the thing, you can't look at them in isolation. Neither one tells the whole story by itself. The real story, the thing that determines the final outcome, happens right at the intersection where people and place collide. And this right here, this little grid basically explains the whole thing. So look at the top left. You've got high-risk geography, say you're sitting right on a major fault line, but you also have strong governance. In that case, resilience is actually possible. Now slide over to the top right. Same risky geography, but this time you have weak governance. Catastrophe isn't just likely, it's practically a given. But here's the part that really gets me. Look at the bottom right. You could be in a low-risk area, geographically speaking, but if the governance is weak, you can create vulnerability out of thin air. You're essentially building your own disaster. So, this brings us all the way back to that first puzzle we talked about. Remember, how can a less powerful earthquake end up causing way more damage? Well, the answer boils down to a really simple but incredibly powerful idea: the resilience equation. See, true resilience, it doesn't just happen by accident. It's what you get when effective governance meets the reality of the local geography. It's pretty straightforward. Resilience equals effective governance plus favorable geography. When a community really gets the physical risks it faces and it has proactive leaders at every level, that's a community that's ready. In the end, it's all about the human choices we make, years, even decades before the ground ever starts to shake. That's what really determines what happens next. And that really leaves us with one final, pretty important question. I want you to think about where you live, the local rules, the city planning, the actual land around you. Is the blueprint for your community, the place you call home, is it truly designed for resilience? Or is it, without anyone really realizing it, being built for risk? It's something worth thinking about.